Here is a great painting, a valuable painting. It is valued today at $2,300,000. Here was once a great ship. Today it is outmoded and useless. Its present value, so little that it is being allowed to rust away. Value may depend on many things not related to use. For example, the value of furniture may depend on its age or its historical association. The value of a violin on its tone. Many objects are valuable because they are rare, hard to find, or because of their beauty. These characteristics are known as esteem value because they are not related to the use of the object. But the true value of any product in terms of cost is determined by its functional contribution to the customer, and the true value of a component is determined by its functional contribution to the product. True value in this light can be determined only by scientifically examining each of its components in terms of the function it performs. This is what is meant by value engineering, and in its search for savings, the greatest value might be defined as the lowest cost required to achieve essential function. Thus, the objective of the search for savings is to manufacture a product that will work right and look right and make it at the lowest possible cost. The principles of value engineering can be applied with equal effectiveness to any product, large or small, consumer or industrial, everything from a tiny component to a space vehicle. And the same techniques can also produce measurable savings in business practices, systems, and methods, from routine clerical procedures to highly specialized experimental projects. Just one reason for the need for scientific analysis today is because products are mass-produced, turned out by the millions. Thus, when the cost of any single item is multiplied by the number turned out each year, the cost is enormous. Even the tiniest item may represent an outlay of hundreds of thousands of dollars, so saving even a fraction of a cent on an item is important. By substituting a component which costs even a few pennies less, a competitor has a substantial edge, and less expensive components is only one advantage. If labor or shipping costs are less, or if the materials can be bought for less, the edge is even greater. Today's competition makes it essential that every piece of material, every component, and every manufacturing process be analyzed to determine how much it contributes functionally to the product, and if anything else can do it for less and still achieve the essential function. But aren't most successful products already being made at lowest cost? The answer is no. For example, the cover of this electrical control is held in place by a simple wire clip. When the clip was examined, it was found to be made of an expensive material. Why this material? Because of its flexibility. But analysis showed that the amount of flexibility was unnecessary, since the cover is removed only about 6 times in the life of the assembly. So the material was changed to one which would withstand sufficient flexing, but cost less than half as much. Less expensive materials often can be used in a product so long as there is no loss of essential function. In this case, the essential function is what makes the product work. And here it is what makes it sell. Any 5-cent pencil will make marks, but because this gold pencil is much more attractive, it is sold by the millions at $5 each. So essential function simply means serving the purpose for which the part was designed. In the search for savings, the answers must be found to 6 all-important questions. 1. What is the item? 2. What does it do? 3. What does it cost? 4. What is the value of the essential function? 5. What else will do the job? And 6. What will that cost? For example, here is a steel bolt with a head and a nut and requiring washers. Its function is to hold parts together. It's priced at 20 cents, and 1 million of them cost $200,000. But what does it cost in terms of its functional contribution to the product? 20 cents may seem like a fair cost for this function, but in the search for savings, the question was asked, how much is the function worth? And what else will do the job? Two less expensive ways were found. One was to substitute a threaded stud. The other was to have the supplier provide a built-in washer. The first was chosen, and the answer to the question, what will that cost, was 15% less, or an annual saving of $9,000. There they are, 6 vital questions about product cost. Now, here is how value engineering goes about getting the answers. Just the facts, ma'am. Just give us the facts. The first step is accumulating the necessary data. That includes the actual function of each part, what it is and what it does, the reasons for the present components, materials, and manufacturing processes, and how much they cost. One example of the many considerations in the search for savings was in the functional contribution of the window frames of a jet airliner. Each plane uses about 100 of them at a cost of $46 each. Since high altitudes make it almost impossible to see details on the ground, the importance of the passenger windows was questioned. It was found to be less than it was some years ago. An excellent answer to what is the value of the function. In the creative phase of analyzing the airliner windows, everything was considered, from keeping the frames as they are to the possibility of eliminating windows completely. Visionary? Perhaps, but the more ideas for changing, the better the chance of finding a way to increase use value. In the search for savings, value engineering calls on sources of specialized information for help, anyone in the organization or outside. In the third step, the analytical phase, various ideas are evaluated with the question, will they work? Some ideas are too expensive or too complicated. Others are impractical, or they create more problems than they solve. So these disadvantages must be overcome, or other ideas selected. After the best ideas for doing the job at less cost are chosen, the next phase of value engineering is program planning. Each of the recommendations is analyzed to determine costs and to find all possible ways of accomplishing each alternative, and specialists in every related field are consulted. In the program execution phase, each recommendation is programmed for execution. This includes helping suppliers overcome problems that arise in their operations, and most important, making sure that the recommendations are thoroughly understood by everyone concerned. Finally comes the follow-up phase, seeing that the recommendations are put into effect. One way to avoid misunderstandings is to develop recommendation sheets, providing pertinent information in language that will be understood by everyone concerned. Thus, the 6 basic steps in systematic value analysis consist of getting information, applying creative thinking, analyzing recommendations, drawing up a plan, executing the program, and finally, follow-up. One important question is where to look for savings. One of the most likely places is unnecessary costs. Costs that can be eliminated without affecting the quality, reliability, salability, or maintainability of the product. First, let's see what the cost of a product includes. Actually, there are 2 costs, the cost to the customer and the cost to the manufacturer. The customer's cost includes the all-important selling price, as well as any costs of operation and maintenance, whether it be an auto top, or a tiny component in a boat, or the cost of fuel, or other means of keeping the product operating. The cost to the manufacturer includes direct manufacturing, procurement, design, engineering, testing, packaging, sales and distribution, as well as general and administrative costs. Often, some of these costs are unnecessary. For example, analysis of this package showed that an equally attractive, equally protective package could be made for less, producing a substantial saving in product cost. The result was a package that cost 25% less. In another case, analysis showed that this reservoir, storing a small amount of oil in an aircraft, was not needed, and by jettisoning the oil in flight, it could be eliminated entirely. Now let's see how unnecessary costs get into a product. In most cases, the human factor is responsible. In some cases, it's lack of information, like the fisherman who doesn't know what kind of bait to use. In others, it's lack of ideas, like the golfer without enough clubs for all situations. Or lack of progressiveness, like the man who says, "If it was good enough for my father, it's good enough for me." Or lack of flexibility, doing things the same way, time after time. And finally, hanging on to wrong beliefs until the rude awakening. These, then, are some of the human factors that create unnecessary product costs and that must be overcome. And when they are overcome, everyone benefits, and the cheering is loud and long. The three phases of product development where value engineering accomplishes the most significant results are in design, purchasing, and manufacturing. The first place to look for lower costs is in design. If unnecessary cost can be eliminated and the greatest value built into the product at this stage, the company will be in the best competitive position. Another important area for applying value engineering is in purchasing. Here, studies can show how to buy or make materials or components at lowest cost. In many cases, items can be purchased outside for less than the cost of manufacturing them in the plant. For example, this nut was purchased from a specialty supplier for 77% less than it had previously cost to make it. Purchasing can also make substantial savings by taking advantage of suppliers' knowledge and facilities. In the manufacturing phase, value engineering techniques often find more efficient processes that result in substantial savings. For example, at General Dynamics, Pomona, this component was manufactured by a machining process until value engineering found that die casting would do the same job at considerably less cost. While design, purchasing, and manufacturing offer the most dramatic areas in the search for savings, every manager and technical specialist can do his share to help reduce product costs by applying the principles of value engineering to his job. First, by finding out why things are the way they are, then taking action to improve them, the approach that gets results and wins rewards. Second, by asking for help from experts, calling on specialists, and using teamwork to take full advantage of available brain power. Third, by helping the value specialist to get specific answers to the 6 basic questions in the search for savings. What is it? What does it do? What does it cost? What is the value of the function? What else will do the job? And what will that cost? And fourth, by recognizing and eliminating basic causes of unnecessary costs. By constantly thinking of these principles in terms of each piece of material, in terms of each component, in terms of each step of manufacturing, and in terms of each procedure, anyone can make sound suggestions that will result in lower product costs and greater profits.